Expelled college students of Reddit. Why are you expelled? I went to a private Christian university, and I have a friend who got expelled for supposedly exorcising a demon out of someone in the middle of a wide open courtyard. I unintentionally got another student expelled. We were critiquing websites we had built when I noticed one that looked exactly like mine with a few tweaks. I popped open the source and noticed it was a line-for-line copy of my code with a few changes to the CSS. I brought it up to the professor to protect myself in case he noticed them, though I doubt I would have been suspected. Mine was more cohesive. The changes he did make didn't make the site appealing. Anyway, apparently it was his third time plagiarizing. After twice you go on trial with the school. If you don't get expelled, then a third time is the nail in the coffin. You didn't get them expelled, they got themselves expelled by being that stupid. I spent too much time drinking and not going to class. I was a junior with a 1.6 overall GPA. University said they didn't need my ilk around there and would open my spot for someone who would appreciate it. This got my attention. I went to the dean and talked with him for a couple of hours trying to get back in. He said no, 19 out of 20 of you guys go back to doing the same thing. I told him I would be the exception. He gave me another chance. From then on out it was 4.0 every semester. I finally got my GPA up over 2.5 so I could graduate. I made sure and went back to the dean's office to thank him and tell him that I was that 1 out of 20 that made it. Congrats. Also, the dean is a son. I was making a search engine for our school teacher evaluation page. It absolutely blew up in popularity and a large portion of the school was using it. About 5k views per day. Essentially it was like Rate My Professors, except it used the evals that they force students to do at the end of the class as data. I also added features that made it more desirable to students. It became so popular that it was showing up on the front page of Google for certain teacher names. Some of those teachers had low ratings and got off and complained. I had unintentionally violated IP laws because the evaluations were under password protections and my site was not. The only reason I didn't get expelled was because the dean of my department had my back. He did research and concluded the information should not have been private in the first place, then sent a public information request to make it so my project did not break the law. I definitely had people asking for my expulsion for a scary amount of time. That must have been extremely scary. I can't imagine getting expelled for something like that. Good thing the dean had your back. Hope it all worked out. I got thrown out after I graduated from a master's degree program. The teacher asked me out for drinks when I asked to talk about one of my papers. I turned him down. I had to take a class with him in my next to last semester and he tried to throw me out for plagiarism. I tried to press harassment charges and the ombudsman talked me out of it by saying I would be stuck in his class if I pressed charges. The ombudsman asked to contact administrators at the school and urged me to get an incomplete in the guy's class and just graduate next term. After graduation I am getting ready to go on job interviews and I receive a letter telling me I have to enroll in 4 courses and get A's to offset the F the teacher in question wants to give me. I follow up and the teacher, who is now the chair of the program, elects himself my academic advisor and takes over the situation. He fakes my grades and tells me I have 6 weeks to complete the entire course all over again. He tells me if I do my best he will make it possible to graduate as it's mathematically impossible. I can't complete the work in time and he throws me out. I'm given permission to reapply and soon it becomes apparent they are not going to let me in to fix the situation. I contact the graduate department and meet with their legal counsel. I show them the faked grades, explain the rule violations and inform them of my having reported the guy. They tell me to try to work with the program again and then they will intervene. The program refuses any solution involving my readmission. The graduate dean allows me to file academic grievances and rules that there are lots of things wrong but does nothing about them. He concludes by telling me I can either get readmitted or give a replacement course via transfer. I take the course and submit it. The graduate dean says they can't accept the course if I can't get enrolled. Dean rules the matter reviewed and closed. I sue the school alleging unjust enrichment. I provide all of the documents and records as it was all conducted via email and I have my student folder. These get certified via discovery. The school evokes sovereign immunity and says that since the fraud and negligence happened more than 2 years before I filed, they are immune to prosecutions. Judge agrees. I file appeal. As of August of this year, it will be 10 years. Holy frick. All because you turned down some perv professor for drinks. You wanted to talk about a paper, for God's sake. He should not be a teacher. Thus is just another reason why college is fricked. Pay all this money and some creeper professor decides to frick over your life. And all colleges' judicial systems are fricked as all heck. My roommate got expelled for basically never going to class, not even when there was an important exam. He spent all night smoking weed, with me, and playing video games, not with me, and then slept all day until about 5 PM. Like I would wake up, go to my 8:30 lecture, get lunch, go to lab 2-5, then come back to my room and my roommate was still sleeping. I found out the following summer that he had gotten a letter from the university asking him not to come back. Last I heard of him, he had enrolled at a commuter school, where he made the dean's list. I'm dealing with a roommate like this now. He was kicked out probably a year ago but is just paying rent at our apartment. It's 3 AM here and he woke up 3 hours ago. Expelled because my GPA dropped below the competitive level for the engineering school at my college. I was given the option of transferring to a different school. They recommended I go into the humanities or be expelled. Well, thankfully I had a job from the previous summer that was willing to hire me on full-time before this happened. So I took the expulsion and went to work full-time. Since then, I've gotten my certifications and work in the trades, doing fairly well for myself. So, yay. They recommended I go into the humanities, the ultimate engineering burn. I had a friend who skipped all classes and failed everything because all he wanted to do was play LOL. He got a warning that if he didn't get his grades up he would be suspended for a year. He got suspended. When he went back to the school a year later, the same thing happened again. Now he can't go back to that college again. Wasn't expelled but dang near. Junior year I took an elective class called Reading Fiction. Cool class, but the teacher was extremely strict and took the class very serious. I'm alright at writing papers, and this class involved heavy writing about writing techniques, symbolism, foreshadowing, act. We were assigned to read a book that I can't remember the name, but I wasn't into it at all. I struggled to finish it and struggled even more to write a detailed paper on it. I slammed out the minimal page requirement and sources needed. It was not my best work, but it was serviceable. I get an email from the teacher a few days later saying he would like me to come into his office hours. He accused me of plagiarizing certain segments of my paper, which I did not, and was ready to send my case to the dean. Apparently some things I sourced in my paper were done incorrectly, which led him to believe I straight copy and pasted from the internet. The second hour of office time was him passive aggressively calling me an idiot. Currently I'm aware of a group of international students getting expelled from my school. They've been whispering to each other during exams in another language, and as luck would have it, my professor happens to speak that language and has been slowly building a case against them without their knowing it. The kids somehow also got the solutions to every homework and exam last semester, which is very similar to what we've been assigned this semester. However, the kids are so freaking lazy they blindly copy whole solutions, not realizing numbers are different. Sometimes units are metric and they answer in English, and one problem asked for something completely different than they solved for using the exact procedure to solve last semester's homework. They're absolutely fricked and I'm kinda excited to see it. One of them had a 3.75 GPA, was on the verge of being auto-admitted to our MSBS program. He's probably been cheating his whole college career. We're 2 semesters away from graduation. Plot twist, the advisor to that program is the instructor that is currently building the case against them. So basically that guy is mega fricked. Professor is a savage. He's been grading all their homework and exams like everything was fine, and one day unleashed a dossier of justice to comb. I'm bipolar, rocked college and got straight A's while I was manic as crap, sleeping 3 hours a night for several years, drinking, drugs, partying and all that. Then I curled up in a dark hole and cried for several months and couldn't even hardly wake up enough to go to any of my classes. Got academic probation and told my advisors I had no idea what was happening to me. This wasn't the real me. Managed to pull off another year of straight A's and little to no sleep. Then I crashed again and did nothing but sleep for months on end, wanting nothing more from life than for it to end as soon as possible, please. By my own hand if necessary. This time I got kicked out completely. Fast forward a few more years of the mania depression cycles and it eventually got so bad that I stole a car while manic and drove 800 miles across the US on some paranoid delusional insanity. I thought I was phasing between alternate realities and the government was going to try to capture me and study me to see how I was doing it. Don't ask. Luckily I ended up in the hospital instead of jail and I got diagnosed finally. Now I take a fuck ton of medicine. And I'm not quite so crazy anymore. The end. Our bipolar is leaking. Also bipolar, I know the feeling of going back and forth between the dean's list and academic probation while everybody around you wonders what the heck is going on. I'm glad you got help. I found being manic was the best feeling in the world until the delusions gave way and you had to start sorting through the wreckage you just made. Failing grades, insane roommates and theft accusations. I bombed out due to massive stress, appealed, got back in. More serious detailed response. I was going to the Art Institute of Philadelphia, one of the few places I legitimately consider heck on earth. The school paired me up with various roommates who had severe issues, refusing to shower 6 months straight, hardcore drug addicts, a guy who openly fapped to pictures of dead bodies. While I was still in the room, nightmare fuel. The entire dorm was terrible. People were constantly kicking or punching body-sized holes into and through walls. Elevators would drop multiple floors when you were in them. It was a nightmare. And then, one winter, a fire alarm started going off every single freaking night around 2 AM and we'd have to evac the building into the dead of winter. Nothing quite wakes you up like fire alarms and freezing cold. I mentally started to lose it. My grades dropped, and I failed the semester because I could never sleep. Between the fire alarms and overwhelming funk I was getting extremely worn down and stressed. This continued on. One of the deans calls me in one day and accuses me of credit card theft. According to the school, I had stolen a credit card from one of my roommates and racked up a massive bill. Lane Bryant and they had proof. Lane Bryant, which I didn't know at the time, was a women's clothing store that specializes in plus size apparel. It was implied I was buying these for my girlfriend, but I had to point out to the school that I was gay. They changed their story to the fact that I must have been buying them for myself, implying I was a cross-dresser. I kind of lost my crap and asked them to provide any shred of proof to back up their claims. They had none, but proceeded to harass me about this crap for weeks, demanding I pay back the money I never took or they'd have to escalate things. Then I ended up with a roommate who was caught growing drugs, shrooms, in my closet. But the school decided that chaperoning the guy was not their responsibility, and the guy ended up stealing half my crap. To which the school was like, did you have insurance? No? Haha, not our problem. Please get out of my office. After that everything tanked. The stress piled on, and the plurality of shittiness that exuded from the school got to me and I failed out. As I said, I was able to appeal, get back in and later graduate. Bonus safe drama. A few semesters after all this crap happened, the school paired me up with 2 roommates whose previous roommate pulled a gun on them and threatened to kill them. School moved the 2 guys into my room, and the guy who threatened to kill them broke into our building and got into my apartment. This school was an absolute nightmare. I had a particularly rough semester and got D in a class that I had previously dropped after about a week the prior semester because my schedule was too busy then. Department rules say that you can't attempt a class for credit more than twice, including drops, so I got kicked out of my major. I was 14 hours away from graduation at the time. The academic advisor said that I could either change my major, so basically start college all over, or frick off for a year and then come back on probation. So I guess I'm not expelled per se, but I'm taking an involuntary gap year. I went to college right after high school and didn't really have direction as to what I wanted to pursue for a career. I signed up for classes and went because I was told you are supposed to go to college and get a degree. I started to not care about school about 3-4 semesters in and stopped putting forth effort. I decided I would rather work my job, drink with friends, and play my favorite video games. My grades tanked, and then I stopped going to finals and failed many courses. My university finally gave me a warning and then dismissed me. I spent a semester off before applying to the local community college down the road to pursue a career as an EMT. I found a passion for medicine and a desire to achieve something more than drugs, video games, and a dead-end job. I repaired my GPA by getting an associate's degree in arts, general AA, and then went back to the university that dismissed me. I eventually was graduate with a bachelor's degree in biochemistry and go on to medical school afterwards, where I would finish that chapter and start my residency training in family medicine. I'm almost done with intern year. When I was in college, I got suspended 3 times for bad grades. At one point my GPA was a 1.0. I finally got it together and graduated with a degree in finance, and a few years later went back and got a second bachelor's in accounting. I think my GPA is a 3.2 now. I'm not working in finance or accounting because I can't find a job. I mostly just hate my life now and wish for death. That took a left turn. Obligatory. I'm not an expelled college student, but I knew a guy who got expelled from an Ivy League for getting caught with too much C. He works at California Pizza Kitchen now. Freshman year of engineering, and I was all of 3 months in. I had invited the Ra over to play some Halo. As he walked through the hall, he noticed my dorm neighbor had his door open with beer cans everywhere. He shakes his head and reluctantly tells me he can't game and has to write this guy up. The night after, I wake up to a loud knock on my door. Thinking it's some prankster, I mumbled, "Frick off, I'm sleeping." I then hear my Ra's voice me, "It's no joke, open up." Adrenaline kicks in and I bolt out of bed. It's the Ra with 2 security guards. I was told that they were notified I had made dangerous sounding comments and had to search my room. They found a disassembled airsoft gun, battery plus spring, that I was, well, taking apart, a length of rope, and a standard toolbox, and an electronics kit. This is where it got horrible. The length of rope was wrapped neatly around a water pipe in my room. It was black and purple, and my GF at the time was way into bondage and I was too lazy to put it away. Note, I was just storing it on the pipe, not hanging someone from it. The security officers claimed it looked like a noose, despite no knots. The electronics kit, they said, looked like bomb parts, to which I gave them the exact name of the professor who was helping me with my project. They also took several of my tools from my toolbox. I was immediately marched to the security office and at 2 AM had to wait for my parents to pick me up. Talk about the worst car ride ever back home. I had no idea what had happened and I wanted to just throw myself out of the car. A day later we went back to talk to the administration. It was recognized that I was thrown under the bus, but that was the extent of any sympathy given. I was faced with a full semester suspension or leave and have any judicial record sealed. I chose the latter. That day, in front of half the dorm, my parents and I packed up the car and left. I was able to apply and get into a different school for the spring semester, though without the $35 K scholarship I had previously received. But now I'm an employed civil engineer and life's been going pretty well. I was a friendless loser in high school and middle school, so I was very sensitive when I could tell someone else was bullied. There was a kid in my Spanish class who clearly had some autistic Asperger's stuff going on. He would ask really inappropriate questions, and everyone made fun of him, laughed at him, rolled their eyes at him, even the teacher. I felt bad for him. I asked him to work with me on a project and I invited him to my dorm room. My roommate and his friends happened to be there and were smoking before heading out. He gets all perturbed and I end up doing all of the work and letting him take credit because I felt bad. He decides to immediately go to campus security and report me for allowing illegal activities to go on. Me and my roommate and his friends all get arrested and taken away in cuffs and shackles in front of the entire student body. I then had to leave school, and my family never recovered from the whole thing. My mother recently passed away, and this incident hurt our relationship for the remainder of her life. I was forced to take NA classes and they asked me to leave since I'd never done any drugs or drank before college, and I was still in my first year. They just auto-passed me and expunged my record. At least, I was in classes with people who had scars all over their bodies, arms ruined by drug injections, people who had problems with self-mutilation and other kinds of abuse, and I was some 18-year-old goody two-shoes nerd kid. I ended up having to spend a few months in a psych ward as well, since this incident made me suicidal since I lost my friends, my family, and my future. One mistake and it completely altered the course of my life. I was trying to help you and you fricked me. Because of what this kid did, I never go out of my way to help anyone who is bullied, and I instantly assume they fricking deserve it now. I lost all the friends I'd made in college too. I am completely friendless again, and have severe trust issues. I was expelled back in my 4th year of college. I've dealt with social anxiety since childhood and it came to a head in my 3rd year when I was having panic attacks frequently. I got help but by then it was too late for my grades because I had been barely passing classes by the skin of my teeth. I was a 4th year Comp C major who didn't know how to program at all. I tried to get back on the horse after going through therapy for my anxiety, but I felt so defeated that my grades slipped further into the hole I had dug for myself. I think the quarter I got kicked out I had 2 Fs, 2 Ds and a C. The dean sent me a letter saying I was done with engineering. I took time to get my act together, got a part-time job, lived in a shithole apartment with 7 people living in a space meant for 4 people at the absolute maximum. I worked minimum wage and realized I needed to finish school. I saw my undergrad counselor numerous times, who very graciously helped me. I needed to write out a contract addressed to the dean with my detailed plan on how I was going to prove I was worthy of being readmitted, and the classes I would take to qualify for graduation. It took a while but I eventually managed to get readmitted by working my butt off, taking summer school courses which counted toward my major and getting a 3.0 average, then following up by getting good grades once they let me back in. It was tough because I needed therapy for so many years but I didn't want to accept it until my breakdown in my 3rd year. I wish I had gotten help sooner but I truly thought I could handle it all on my own and I felt ashamed that I wasn't able to. But I'll say this, I don't regret for a second that I ended up getting help. I was a little embarrassed about it first but I soon got over that. I still have some days where anxiety is in the back of my mind, but I'm a lot better now, and I graduated. If you're struggling in school, just know that even if you get kicked out that doesn't mean it's the end for you if you honestly want to finish. Was expelled my 2nd semester at another US school. Think Michigan, Montana, North Dakota. It was my 2nd semester being an older transfer student from the mid-Atlantic. I ended up slipping on ice and fracturing my femur, my humerus and 2 fingers on ice outside my apartment. I spent 3 weeks in the hospital during that time recovering and doing PT. Finally got home. My apartment was 30 minutes away from campus. Since I couldn't drive nor did they have cabs I could afford or public transit, ended up failing everything and having to move back home. Only a year later I find out about an office that can help you out with getting tuition back and expunging your record of classes due to medical issues. Had to wait a year to get back in. This year I'm finding myself in the same situation with aplastic anemia but I only got diagnosed 1 week before my insurance expired. I'm 16 credits from graduation and I'm stuck with the bureaucratic processes of trying to take classes of the summer. It'll probably take me to mid-July which means I have to come back in the fall to finish up. I'm about ready to give up. Hang in there, you got this. Not me, but a guy who lived on the floor below me my freshman year. Dude was already a nuisance. He got drunk and wandered into town one night, broke a window on a private residence because he thought it was our dorm, got arrested for breaking said window. When the school found out they told him that if you got into any trouble either with the police or the school's internal justice system, which is actually decent, it's student run, then he would be thrown out. Same goes for getting transported to the local hospital due to excessive drunkenness. Cut to Halloween night when his roommate found him passed out covered in vomit on the floor of his dorm room. He tested positive for alcohol, marijuana, and I'm pretty sure he was kicked out before he got out of the hospital. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.